All right, should we get started? Okay. I want to welcome you to City of Dublin's Architectural Review Board meeting. For those of you who, of course, you've been through this before, but this meeting is being live streamed. You can access a video of this, future meetings, past meetings from the city's website. If anybody is watching, the meeting is being held at 555 Perimeter Drive, the City Council Chambers here in Dublin. The procedure for tonight is on the two cases, we will first have a staff presentation. Then the applicant will have the opportunity to come up, make a presentation. Then the board will ask clarifying questions. Then we'll see if there's any public comment, and then we'll deliberate on the case and hopefully ultimately decide. We start all of our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would rise and face the flag. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Here.
Mr. Cotter,
Here.
Mr. Jewell,
Here.
Ms. Damiser,
Here.
and Ms. Cooper.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to accept the documents into record and to approve the minutes from the meeting held on November 16th of this year?
I'll make that motion to accept those documents in record.
Your second?
Second.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our board's responsible for the review of construction and modifications and alterations to any site in the area subject to architectural review under the zoning code section 153.170. There are no cases eligible for the consent agenda this evening. Our board has a decision-making responsibility on all cases. So if anyone intends to address the board this evening, you must be sworn in. So if you feel like you're going to be speaking this evening, or there's a chance you'll be speaking, would you raise your right hand and answer in the affirmative? You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony to this board. Okay, thank you. All right, on to our new cases. Our first case is the development at 3638 North High Street. This is a final development plan. The application is a request for the construction of a two-story mixed-use building on a two-story residential building on a 0.25 acre site, zoned historic district, historic core. The site is located northeast of the intersection of North High Street and with Win Hill Lane. And Sarah will be our presenter. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this is indeed 3638 North High Street. We have two requests before us tonight. One is the final development plan, and one is a waiver. The site location is in yellow at the northeast corner of North High and Wing Hill Lane. The buildings previously approved for demolition are under the orange star, and the wall and privy, the historic features on site, are identified by the blue star. Those features are subject of a separate application currently under review by staff. The site is zoned Historic District, Historic Core. It's surrounded by the same zoning except on the east side where we see Historic District, Historic Residential. This project's been through the typical major project review steps, and most recently in July, this board heard the preliminary development plan, the parking plan, and some waivers. And the waivers included the Juliet balcony and no foundations along Wing Hill Lane. At that time, the parking plan was tabled. In November, the project was tabled pending architectural changes. However, the parking plan and the street tree waiver were approved. So we're back here tonight with the final development plan with the architectural changes. So we're very happy to bring this forward. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, this is the last step in the process. These photos show the existing conditions at both the front and the back of the buildings. The lower left photo shows the historic wall, steps, and privy. These photos show a little bit more detail along both North High and Wing Hill Lane. To highlight some updates to the project since you saw it at preliminary development plan, the project now has 85% lot coverage, which is the maximum permitted by code, so no waiver is required. Again, the parking plan was approved in November, but just as a reminder, we have the 4 on-site spaces for the mixed use, 4 tuck-under spaces in the residential building, the public ADA space on North High Street. The bike parking was moved to the central parking court. You'll see that the grading within the parking lot is the subject of a condition of approval. The mixed-use building's trash is now located attached to that building. And then the historic wall is, as I mentioned, in for review. Staff is taking a look at that. There is a recommended condition of approval regarding the timing of demolition of these structures relative to the wall approval to make sure that these are fully coordinated. Moving along to the proposed character on North High Street, and this is the mixed-use building. The character and details have changed since November, and now we see the traditional double-hung windows. Sills and lintels are provided. The stepped water table has been straightened out. You can see it along Wing Hill Lane. And then there is a gable detail on the north part of the building. Taking a detailed look at this front elevation of the mixed-use building, we see the horizontal siding on the north portion and the traditional wood and door trim. Here is the new circular gable vent, and this occurs on both gable ends. We have an AZEK skirt board that is the subject of the waiver tonight. And finally, we see the gabled building has awnings on the first floor. Moving on to the south portion of this building, we see the limestone details where the sills project and the lintels are flush. Looking at the Wing Hill elevation, we note the straight stone water table with the limestone cap. We have full depth brick on the body. Again, the limestone sills and lintels, and a little bit of a change with the Juliet balcony. The doors are now double and they open inward. This is the interior or east elevation of the mixed-use building, and it shows the integration of the existing historic stone wall system and foundation. We see the limestone water table with that same cap feature. The brick and horizontal siding is shown on the different sections. And on the north section, we see a rear access door with a transom. This was changed from an awning from the last time that you saw this. And the trash enclosure location is here as indicated. Completing our tour around this building on the north side, we see the horizontal siding. The northwest window has changed to sit atop the skirt board. This is that same AZEK skirt board running the length of the building. We'll talk about that with the waiver. And again, the trash enclosure is here. It is stone on 2 sides, attached to the building on 1 side, and then has painted cedar doors on the 4th side. The materials for the mixed-use building are very similar as reviewed at preliminary development plan. And we have the rusticated limestone veneer for the water tables with an 8-inch smooth limestone cap. Again, the full depth brick in Belden Yukon blend for the south portion of the building. The smooth limestone sills and lintels as previously pointed out. The north side of the building has the horizontal wood siding painted bungle house blue. The wood trim is now in urbane bronze. The awnings are a sunbrella fabric in alloy steel color. The aluminum-clad windows and doors are from Marvin Signature Ultimate. They are now in bronze. We'll have more graphics on that shortly. And finally, the standing seam metal roof is in gunsmith gray. Moving on to the residential building, which is the same as seen at preliminary development plan. And this is the character along Blacksmith Lane. Details on the elevations include the limestone water table that matches the mixed-use buildings, horizontal wood siding, balconies and recessed entries, and vertical wood details to organize the window groupings. The north elevation shows the stepped water table and again the vertical details organizing the windows. The interior or west elevation, I'll point out the tuck under garages, which are now single doors to aid in maneuverability. And again, we see the vertical organization of the windows and the stone water table. And finally, on the west side, on the south elevation, we see again the stepped water table and the vertical details. Looking at the materials for this building, again, the same limestone for the water table as in the mixed-use building. The horizontal siding is painted grapey and pavestone, and the doors are in Roycroft adobe. The vertical siding pieces in the window openings are iron ore. The standing seam metal roof is in gunsmith gray again. And here the aluminum-clad Marvin Signature Ultimate windows are in an ebony finish. These are just some additional details on those windows. And again, these are for the double hung and the sliding configurations, bronze on the mixed use, and then ebony on the residential. The doors include Marvin Signature Ultimate commercial doors, true style doors for the townhomes. This would have side lights. And then CHI overhead doors for the garages, and those would be painted 2 different colors. Bike racks are proposed as shown, except in a bronze finish. And then looking at lighting, the lighting style is appropriate for this building. And going through the individual fixtures, the first fixture is an up and down light proposed for the front of the mixed-use building. There are 8 total fixtures proposed on the front, and we have noted some hot spots, especially on the north side of this building. So staff is recommending the removal of 1 fixture on that north side of the building. It still works with the architecture as shown. 4 additional lights of the same type are shown at the rear of the mixed-use building. And then the second fixture is for the front of the residential building. The third fixture is within each residential entryway. And the 4th fixture is over the garage doors. All fixtures are full cutoff, and there is a condition of approval to address outstanding but minor lighting issues. So the one and only waiver tonight is for the use of AZAC material on the skirt board for the north portion of the mixed-use building. And this is a synthetic material that looks like wood, but it's resistant to rot and decay. All criteria for the use of this material have been met or are not applicable. Regarding the final development plan, the criteria are met with conditions, or not applicable, as fully described in your report. And finally, staff is recommending approval of the waiver for the AZAC material, and then approval of the final development plan with 4 conditions as presented in the staff report. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any initial questions for Sarah?
Sarah, just one question. There was one, can't pull it up, but there was a question about, from the engineering, about the slope of the parking area between them. I don't know if we'll talk, but is there a recommendation from anybody, or we just need to try to find a way to soften that, or just try to discuss what that could look like?
The recommendation is to, let me say, it's addressed in condition number of approval number 2, that says the applicant shall continue to work with staff to lessen parking lot grades. We don't govern private parking lot grades, although some of the grades that are currently shown are a little steeper than what we would feel comfortable with. And we can think of some ways that they could potentially be addressed. So
That would sit. with
hence the
it would
condition.
Sit with the applicant, though, really. I mean, it's not the city going to get involved with trying to.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I have a follow-up question then. How does it affect for surface water drainage? Because sometimes a little steeper grade is needed in order to not have ponding. So is that also a consideration, or?
That is also a consideration. If I'm thinking back to my site design days, on pavement, usually a 2% grade is adequate to prevent ponding. We have some grades in the parking lot area of up to 13%. So there's a huge area to work with in there.
We can address that
Thank
with
you.
the applicant, and because they do have a trench drain on there, actually where the water would be coming together, but we can ask the applicant about that. And actually, the way I think this is written is it's really out of our
That was my
hands.
concern.
I think I think we'll ask the applicant if they feel like it's in there as a condition, but I think we want to hear from either Mr. Lombardi or Mr. Fleming if they feel like they can work with the city to enhance that a little bit. Any other questions? Would the applicants like to step forward and?
Good evening. John Fleming with Timley Architect, 401 West Town Street, Columbus. I don't think we have too much to say today that we haven't covered last time, besides that we did our best to react to the feedback, and I hope that you guys find it appropriate and amenable. In terms of the conditions of approval, we are willing to accept all of them, and are confident that we can make everything work here. For the parking lot grades, we have added a trench drain and can easily kind of massage those grades to fit kind of better within parking maneuverability and still maintain our drainage. With the AZIC, I think that one is just something that we thought would perform better when in contact with grade, like you need to do for wheelchair access in a commercial setting. And will look just like wood and match the rest of the trim. Happy to answer any other questions you have.
Okay. Anyone have any initial questions for the applicant? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this?
We have not gotten any before the meeting, and I'm just double checking to make sure. No, we have not.
Okay. All right. Board members, how do you feel about what's been presented tonight?
For me, I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay with the waiver for the new material. For me, it's okay. And I think the changes take into consideration what we discussed last week. I don't really have another comment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they were very responsive to our comments.
Okay. Marty? Okay.
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you. That's
Thanks.
good.
All right. So first we want to approve the waiver potentially. So
Do you want me
is,
to make a motion on it?
Sure.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to the approval for the waiver for the Aztec material.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Cotter,
Yes.
Ms. Damiser,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Jewell.
Yes.
Okay. Motion number 2. Is there a motion to approve the final development plan with the 4 conditions as listed?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Lori?
Mr. Jewell,
Yes.
Mr. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Damiser.
Yes.
Thank you. You've been approved. Okay. Okay. All right, case number 2, Tucci's, 35 North High Street. This application is a request for the construction of 3 building additions at an existing restaurant on a 0.23 acre site zoned Historic District, Historic Core. The site is located northwest of the intersection of North High Street with Wing Hill Lane. Ms. Holt will be our presenter. So Sarah, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is indeed a request for Tucci's at 35 North High Street. We have the final development plan and waivers, and we're considering 4 different final development plan options tonight. And I will walk you through these. First of all, the location is south of the library off of North High Street, Wing Hill Lane, and Darby Street. As I mentioned, there are 4 options under consideration tonight. And the first is the base option with a patio enclosure on the east side, a wine room on the north, and a dumpster enclosure on the southwest corner. Option C1 adds outdoor patio dining on the east side, and option C2 adds a kitchen and mechanical room and enclosed dumpster on the southwest corner, and that's in lieu of the previous dumpster enclosure. Option C3 includes all of these options. The site is zoned Historic District, Historic Core, and that is the same zoning as the surrounding properties. Previous requests pertinent to this application include lot coverage and parking variances granted in 2002. The lot coverage still applies and accommodates these requests tonight. Most recently, in July of 2022, the preliminary development plan was approved with conditions. The parking plan was approved. Waivers for the roof pitch of the patio enclosure and the use of hardy plank were also approved. At that time, there was discussion on various other phased requests, and as agreed, the applicant has provided a menu of alternatives to choose from tonight. So tonight we are looking at the final development plan. We have a waiver for establishment size requested for some of the options. We have waivers for the roof pitches for the wine room and the kitchen and mechanical expansion. It is important to restate the site's zoning history. In 2012, the Bridge Street District Historic Core zoning was approved for the site. And that allowed existing non-conforming buildings to remain as fully legal. In 2021, when the Historic District Code was adopted, the same provisions carried over. So the size of this establishment is legal. The law office has given a formal opinion on that says that, again, the existing size is legal, but further expansion beyond that existing size requires a waiver. The gross square footage for the project has been established at 7861.35 square feet, based now on accurate measurements and the agreement of staff, including the square footage for the previously approved but not constructed wine room and all of the existing patio. Looking at the existing conditions, these are summer views, obviously, along North High Street and the east side. The 1955 building is in the back with the gable peak that you see. These are views from the public walkway on the north side, and on the left photo, we're looking at the wine room location with the city landscaping and lighting bollards within the project area. And then on the right side, we see the view to the patio from the walkway. Looking at the project site from the Wing Hill right-of-way on the south, again, we see the view to the patio. And the photo on the right shows the area of encroachment into the right-of-way in blue. And this is a subject of a condition of approval. And the applicant is currently working with engineering to remedy this through an encroachment agreement. This photo shows the view looking east along the city right-of-way from Darby Street, and it shows the potential dumpster, kitchen, mechanical room expansion area. Looking at some project character and perspectives, this is looking north on North High Street with Bry High to the left and Harvest Pizza to the right. And then here we're looking south on North High Street with Harvest Pizza on the right. All right, getting into our various exhibits here. This is the base exhibit, Exhibit B. And here we see the enclosed patio and hyphen, the wine room addition, the trash enclosure, the required bike parking. And this area here is an easement noted on the plans, which is subject of a condition of approval. We actually need to remove that easement. It's not supported, nor is it necessary. And this area will be fully addressed with the encroachment agreement. Looking at the base proposal from the North High and North sides, we see skylights that have been added since the preliminary development plan. The wine room addition is located here, and note the flat roof, that's subject of one of the waivers tonight. The hyphen is shown here. The height has increased slightly, although it's still in compliance, and board and batten siding is proposed. The gate entryway is shown here, and this was reviewed and discussed and approved at PDP. And then note the flat awnings between the folding and transom windows, also reviewed and approved at PDP. Looking at the same base elevations from Darby Street and the Wing Hill or south side, we see the wine room addition here. The skylights are here. There's a revised hyphen layout. There were minor changes to address interior programming changes, which actually minimize the normal indent that we would expect on a hyphen. However, staff finds this acceptable with the change of materials and the use of the board and batten siding in this location. We also see the trash enclosure, which brings exposed dumpsters into compliance. And finally, the flat awnings are shown here again. This is Exhibit C1, which includes the base options that we just discussed, plus an outdoor eating area with 7 tables. This is in the southeasternmost corner of the property right against North High Street. And this is a close-in detail of the area just to point out some particulars. The property line is shown in red. The portion of the patio enclosure is in the shaded blue, and the proposed tables are blue rectangles. And this information is superimposed on the landscape plan to show that there is a lack of space for the required foundation plantings and perimeter plantings on the south side. This condition would require a waiver, which staff would not support. The reason being that if the patio enclosure were reduced in size, the tables could be accommodated without the waiver. Moving on to Exhibit C2, which is the base plus the kitchen and mechanical addition. That addition is shown right here in the southwest corner. And it also includes an enclosed dumpster area with the door facing Darby Street. And bike parking is still located on the south side of the building. Highlighting the affected elevations for this option. On Darby Street, we see a roll-up door required for the trash enclosure. This is to avoid the doors swinging into the right-of-way and infringing on that right-of-way. And while this technically works and it's the only logical solution given the size of the addition, it's not really within the spirit and character of what we've seen elsewhere in the district. On the Wing Hill side, we see the entire kitchen mechanical addition structure here. This is proposed to be clad in board and batten with landscape trellis for interest and texture. Exhibit C3 shows all requests, including the patio enclosure in the hyphen, the outdoor seating, the wine room, the kitchen and mechanical addition. And again, these elements are all in their same locations. It's just bringing them all together into one option. Taking a look at the resulting elevations for the C3 option, we see the skylights again, the kitchen and mechanical addition here. That would require a waiver for the flat roof, and we'll discuss that shortly in a moment. The hyphen is shown here with the same layout and board and batten siding. And here is the entryway shown here per plan at PDP, and again, the flat awnings at PDP. These elevations allow you to see the entire base project. We're going to go back to the base project so now you can compare base versus the C3 option. We're looking at all 4 sides here with the adjacent buildings. The colors are as proposed, although the white gable ends are now hammered silver. Staff felt that this was important to minimize the colors and just help minimize the different shapes and visual impacts of the project. And then contrast that previous slide with these elevations for all of the alternatives. The top elevation indicates the lighting proposed at night. And again, the white gable ends are now proposed as hammered silver. Moving on to common materials for all alternatives. The Glen Gary Full Depth Brick in 2 colors is proposed to match the appearance of the existing building. The windows are from Colby with onyx frames now. Previously, they were khaki. The skylights are from Velux with a dark bronze matte curbing. The bike racks are from Uline. They'll be in black. The Seco South cable trellis system is in stainless steel. Gutters and downspouts are in extra dark bronze. Bollards at the trash enclosure are to be black. And staff felt that using the dark colors on these individual elements would help them recede and blend into the background, if you will. Looking at materials that are used only for the alternative designs, this is the patio brick to match the existing, and this would be for the outdoor dining area only. The rolling garage door for the trash enclosure with the kitchen and mechanical addition is shown. This would be from overhead door in brown. And then for the C2 and C3 options, underneath the bike racks, progress rings are proposed to help meet the lot coverage requirements. These colors are universal, and we see the hammered silver for the hardy plank board and batten and the gables, and then the Roycroft bottle green for the shutters on the existing portions of the building. The roof material is the thermoplastic polyolefin or TPO in tan as approved at preliminary development plan. These are project details that are common to all alternatives. And here is the board and batten siding, including 7-inch wide boards with 2-inch battens. This would use the smooth texture, James Hardy siding and trim. And this is subject of a condition of approval to make sure that that's noted on all the elevations. The fence is 3.5 feet high. It's made of wrought iron, and it's a simple style favored by staff, supported by staff, and it would be in black. The entry gate detail is at North High Street as previously shown. It's also wrought iron and is approximately 10 feet tall and 9 feet wide. It will hold signage and related lighting, although that's not a part of this proposal. A recommended condition of approval states that all future signage and related lighting must be part of a separate application. Moving on to the building lighting, there are 3 different types of lighting proposed. The first one is to replace non-compliant security style lighting on the existing building, and this is the wedge fixture that you see here. A recommended condition of approval is to add another light fixture at the base proposal, on the base proposal, and this would be behind the trash enclosure at the staff doors, just for extra security. The second light fixture is for the patio enclosure. It's an up and down sconce, and it meets all criteria. And the third is uplighting on the patio enclosure, which also meets all criteria and meets a condition of approval that was stipulated at preliminary development plan. Switching gears a little bit and moving into the waiver requests, we're going to start with the establishment size waiver. And as a reminder, our base square footage is just under 7,900 square feet. So this waiver would apply to option C1 at a 3.6% square footage increase. With option C2, that would be a 3.4% square footage increase. And for option C3, that would equate to an 8% increase. Staff's evaluation shows that numerous critical criteria have not been met, specifically including unique conditions and circumstances and impacts on historic context. Therefore, staff cannot support these requests, and there is a detailed description of the various criteria in the staff report. Moving on to the roof pitch waiver, this request would apply to both the wine room and the kitchen and mechanical addition. However, since the establishment size waiver criteria were not met, staff evaluated the wine room. Regarding this waiver, all criteria are met or are not applicable. Again, based on the establishment size waiver criteria not being met, staff evaluated the base proposal. And we found that the criteria are met with conditions, or not applicable, as shown in the planning report. Staff recommends disapproval of the establishment size waiver requests with findings listed in the report. Staff recommends approval of the wine room roof pitch waiver. And for clarity and the record, staff recommends disapproval of the kitchen mechanical roof pitch waiver. And finally, staff recommends approval of Exhibit B, Final Development Plan, with the conditions in the planning report, of which there are 8. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any initial questions, Sarah? I have one that I think will be helpful for everybody. Just to review, if this were brand new, vacant site, when we're talking about the brand new eating establishment, the limit would be what?
3,500 square feet.
3,500. So just, I want everybody to be aware of that. Okay, with the,
Sorry, I just want to follow up. The 7,900 square footage that you quote here, that's for the proposed square footage or what it currently is?
What it currently is.
And that includes the unenclosed patio?
Correct.
Okay, that's what was
So
confusing
that's
me.
what we're using as our base legal square footage.
Even though it's not, it's out in the open, it's great. That
Correct.
helps a
It's the
lot.
eating and drinking establishment.
Right, I remember that.
Yes.
I also have a follow-up question. Does it include the square footage from the right-of-way easement area? How is that factored in?
I'm going to ask the applicant to help explain that a little bit. My recollection, is that it does include that square footage because it's part of that establishment.
Okay, because we would agree that that little strip would increase the total existing if it's not included in the square footage.
Correct. That is correct. Mm-hmm.
and one other clarification. If this were new, the entire coverage in the lot would be 85%, right?
That is also correct.
And so it's over that. And when the variance was granted, the variance was for pavement to go to the 90%, right?
Pavement and building.
Right. So it included all of that pavement to get it to 90%. It wasn't a 90% building. So just, okay.
So, but I do have one, just more clarifying. So just on the, the question about the, bit off the building for the moment and on the encroachment side. So let's say with the agreement with the city engineer, does this What does that do with that encroach? Because it still leaves it there as a hanging out thing. So it doesn't, I mean, they're going to encroach and it sits in this administrative area forever then. And they're allowed to encroach, but it's not, but the land still belongs to the city.
That is correct. That is correct. And that needs to be approved by city council.
The encroachment easement will need to be in?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, but there's no, okay, it's maybe a question, is there a way to rectify that in a more permanent way? I mean, this is okay, the city's giving them easement, but the same question, could they just sell them the land? Or do something else with the land to make it cleaner? Maybe that's a legal question.
My recollection from earlier discussions of this was that transfer of right-of-way there had been discussed and evaluated by engineering and potentially the applicant. But the engineering's evaluation of it was in the city's interest to retain ownership of that right-of-way.
Okay.
While allowing this encroachment. But part of that encroachment agreement is that the understanding is the city still has ownership, and so if it needs it for right-of-way purposes, it can recover it.
Okay, so that way we define that puts the risk on the owner. I mean, if the city ever wanted it back,
Yes.
the risk then sits with the owner that something would have to be done.
Right.
Okay, just to make sure that the owner's clear with that. Okay.
Would the applicants like to come up?
Good evening, Craig Barnum. Craig Barnum, 35 North High Street.
Mike Lusk, 6170 Riverside Drive.
Very excited tonight. This has been about a year process. We first approached you, I think it was January of this year. We've made a number of changes to the original proposal that we gave you. A couple of things to talk about. The skylights, I think in the last meeting, I don't think the board was supportive of those skylights. One of the reasons we changed that, two reasons. The design group that I'm using, Design Collective, thought it would be very, very important to have natural light to go into the patio space, obviously to give more of an outdoor feel. I think the issue there for the board was that the skylights were going to be high off the roof and it was going to be visible to people down the street. And we've reduced that, I think, to 6 inches of height. So it's really going to be almost unrealistic for somebody walking down the street to actually see those things. The outdoor patio space is not something that is necessary. I don't have to have it. I think I made the point last time that when it is a very, very nice night and all those sides and those windows are open, to actually have people dining on the outside of the structure just gives tremendous streetscape and energy to the outside. That's not a lot of seating. I think there are 7 two-tops, so there's an extra 14 people. But I think it just enhances the project. Again, it's not something that it's not make or break. If the board decides not to allow that, that I would accept that. I would think it'd be just a lost opportunity to create that energy to the street. The kitchen addition in the back is something I don't have to have. It's wish list, but I will tell you that the existing kitchen that I have now is relatively small for what we do. Once we had the tent from Germany for that year and a half, there were nights where that kitchen was extremely stressed and we just don't have any storage or places to actually prep that food. So having this additional space, having an additional kitchen space would be very, very important to the operation. But again, it's not a make or break situation for me. The way that the renderings came out, I think this is a world-class structure. I think this is going to be very, very unique to the district. Over the past 6 months since June 6th, when the tent did come down nightly, my guests and Dublin residents have asked every single night, what happened to the structure? What's going on with the new one? People are obviously very, very excited for this. Again, this is as exciting as the tent was. We didn't have the flexibility with the tent. We couldn't open the windows. There was a vinyl roof. That was a 6 out of a 10. This is a 10 out of 10. This is going to be an unbelievable structure that I think the district is really going to enjoy. And obviously, I think they're going to enjoy dining out there. So I'm excited, and I'm willing to be flexible and compromise. I just hopefully, if we have to take some of those side issues with the outdoor patio area, I will make the point too that we talked about. Sarah talked about the landscaping. Just to remind you, there's going to be quite a bit of landscaping inside of the structure. So I've got real trees, plants, flowers. I mean, the idea is this was going to be kind of like an atrium on the inside as well. So just because we lack a little bit maybe on that outside of the building, there's going to be tremendous landscape inside of the building as well. You want to?
Yeah, I just would like to say that I've been working through this process with Sarah and for this past year, and she's been very helpful. And I think, our combined efforts have made this a much better project than what we started. And so I just want to mention my appreciation for her involvement and help. So.
Any questions for the applicants?
I just have one. So the current kitchen space that you have now, is that going to be remodeled based on the?
So it would just go out to the east. So the kitchen where it is now just stays the same. And
Okay.
the addition, we would just knock that wall down. It would go out to the east. It would mainly be for prep area. I don't envision adding a lot more equipment back there. It's just we don't have any storage and then an area to prep our food. We do cater to some larger parties, 20s and 30s. Really hard to execute those type of parties from the actual line during a very busy night. This additional space will allow us to prep some of that food and make it a lot easier for the operation.
Well, the only other question then, based on that, with your current square footage, I'm sure there had to be a wish list on your hands. If I could redone this kitchen, I would have probably done my kitchen a different way. I mean, have you thought out of the box on that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, we would have, but again, I mean, this goes back. This is the restaurant opened in December of 1998, and this is an old home falling apart. Nothing. I mean, I've spent a considerable amount of money on the inside with electrical and plumbing, and we still face issues. So obviously, this is a major expansion. And what I'd like to do is clean everything up when we do this, because we're probably going to have to close for a while. And this is not a freestanding structure outside. This is an addition, meaning we've got to take the whole face of the building off, which is obviously going to cause us issues if we try to operate during that time.
Got it.
Kitchens now in a lot of restaurants, and I'm a fine dining establishment, do display kitchens. If you walk into a restaurant now, and that's all part of the energy. And so the kitchen I have back there now is not really a display. It wasn't built as a display kitchen. So we're just trying to use with the hand that we were dealt.
Let me go. Well, the other thing is we're adding fire suppression to the building, so that's going to take a part of his kitchen. I'm not sure he knows all about this, but this equipment gets kind of big, so he's going to lose a little space. Secondly, because we had a non-compliant dumpsters back there today, we've had to, in the base building, we have to do a dumpster enclosure. And so that has to sit such that the dumpsters face the west. So then there's a indent from the existing building out to that dumpster. By adding the additional kitchen, we get a wall across there. So the reality is it really cleans up that back. I mean, that back's a mess now. You've seen it. It's got 2 garage doors. It's ugly. That kitchen addition really goes a long way to just making that back much cleaner looking. Now, the base building, we've added some hedge and stuff to kind of hide that area, which is a bit of a security issue in my mind. That's why we're going to add some lighting, but it's just not as good aesthetically by not accepting that kitchen. And I understand the square footage, I mean, but the compromise is, and you can see it in the exhibit there now, that gray area now just becomes open area. So I just wanted to make that point so you understood each scenario.
I have one question regarding, the staff report mentioned the building officials were a little concerned that when you addressed the distances of the sidewalls from the property line, you may have to change the elevations to, do you have any idea what percentage, are you sprinkling the entire building?
We are, yes, we have to.
Okay.
It's over 5,000 square feet, over 100 occupants, so it puts us into a fire suppression requirement. And I did address the separations. It's a 5B building. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on the code, but it's a 5B building, so there's no fire requirements for the exterior walls, and we're more than 20 feet away from other buildings. So we have to have a 10-foot fire separation. So we meet all the criteria, and I've talked to the building department. They're in agreement with that.
So his point is no longer germane, is what you're...
That's correct, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we've checked it out, and it's,
Okay, good, because we don't want you to come back here more.
Yeah.
You've already been.
we're a long ways down the road. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Have we had any public comment?
We have not.
Okay, okay. All right, board members, I'll just start with a simple question, because the applicant brought it up. Does anybody have, and it's not in the staff report, anybody have an issue with the skylights that were added?
I don't, no.
No, okay, so we're all okay with that, okay. Questions, thoughts? Who wants to start?
I can start. I mean, I think we talked last time. I think staff said it very well. I mean, it sits much bigger than every building that's an eating and drinking establishment. So I would be against adding more square footage to that than what the let's say what the code or what the original variance in the code would, well, let's say what the variance would allow in this particular instance. I think we start doing this and it already makes a big building bigger in a certain sense. So, and I think staff said, I mean, the square footage that you're trying to find could be found in other ways. If you want a kitchen or whatever, it could sit in the 7861. So I wouldn't certainly be in favor of giving a variance for something above what is already, what you already have existing on the site. If I just pick that one thing to start with, yeah.
I'm going to agree with your statement on that. I'm also reluctant to grant the variance or the waiver needed to exceed the square footage of the 85% factors.
Yeah, obviously, I'm the same way. I'd like to keep it where we are, and I think that was generous at what point we are now. Now they could go all the way up to 7861. Is that correct? So I think initially we're off like about 82 square feet on Exhibit B. So there's some room, some wiggle room there too. But yeah, that's how I feel. I need to stick with keeping us at the current square footage.
Yeah, I agree. I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah, and I've been uncomfortable with the earlier request just because it's so much bigger than what the code permits. But you do have the option, like I agree with you, Mr. Lusk, about filling in that area that's kind of like a missing tooth there. But you could reduce the dining room and put, there's more flexibility than the way you presented things. You could reduce it, as you know, maybe I'm saying this for the benefit of Mr. Barnum, but you could have reduced the dining room, put that square footage into where that kitchen is. So, there are ways that you could move some of those pieces around.
Sure.
To address some of your needs.
Give me 1 second here.
He's just saying the dining room.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest, is you just move around the interior a little bit.
Eliminate it. We don't need to have that.
What did what?
The outdoor dining, additional square footage, and the kitchen area. Just take that off the table.
Yeah.
Tonight, I don't want to.
Well, they're going to vote against it anyway.
Right. So I'm just
Yeah, I think we're going to leave it the way it is, but I understand your point.
That's fine. We didn't want to try to redesign it tonight. I was just saying,
Yeah.
that's certainly an option that you had.
Could have happened, yes.
Well, board members, do we want to move on to go through the motions? Because it sounds like we all agree on where we are regarding which exhibit. I think everybody, Mr. Barnum, it's pretty clear we all prefer B, Exhibit B, Plan B.
And Craig just said we could take it off the table, but we'll go ahead and vote on it and just, it'll be official. So we understand.
Okay.
Can I just one more, because some of the waivers that we have in here, because one of them still concerns me is the encroachment, the easement that we have there, that, because certainly as we talk about, I mean, it puts the burden, you put something there and the city wants it back, it puts the burden a bit on you. And I don't know if you've looked at other, I mean, I think law said that the city wants to keep it, but
Yeah,
for me,
we left it up, we were open to anything, whether it be an easement, a purchase, whatever. I think the direction of the encroachment came from engineering for their reasons.
Okay.
We have no issue with that. We've done the survey work for it. I'm passing things back and forth with engineering now. So it's in process of getting done.
but it's never been approached I mean, you haven't gone to the city and said you would like to buy it or do something else. I know from the law side, that maybe the city council's already said they would rather not sell it, or that maybe that's what the engineering said. Because certainly I feel like it's just one of those things that hangs out there, right? It's a piece of the puzzle. I don't know, it's only a few square feet, but it hangs out there as something that's just always there if something comes up. It doesn't belong to you. So the city has some rights over that can put you in a spot in a future.
And the city chose to retain the ownership and to allow the encroachment, which I assume is going to be more of a surface encroachment. They're not going to have mineral rights, et cetera, below.
That is my understanding. And so that would be reflected in a final agreement as contemplated in the proposed condition.
Right.
And encroachment then would not have to go to the city council. That would be, engineering would be able to do that, or I mean, there's an encroachment now. Would it have to go back to city council? Was there anything that this city council would have to review on this, or will it?
City council would have the deciding authority on the encroachment agreement itself.
Okay, so they will get to see this again, and then they could take it a different approach if they wanted to.
Just the encroachment agreement. The changes to the structure and site that you're voting on tonight would not go in front of council.
No, but I mean, if they said, okay, we'd be willing to buy it, city council could sell it to them. They could do something in between that. Yeah, but they're going to have to re-sign an encroachment agreement now, in the future, right?
Before certificate of occupancy, I think.
All right.
Yeah, we've put the burden, personally, I don't think we care how it's resolved. We put the burden of getting it resolved on
Yes,
them.
it's putting the burden on the.
So it's on them, so the pressure's on them to coordinate with the city council and get it done. Whether it's just an easement of use or whether they buy it, I don't think we care.
It appears to be an encroachment now without an agreement, so.
That's the
Right,
problem, is that it's illegal now and they're just trying to make it legal.
I think the perception was that this was more of a cleanup
Right.
because having that clearly documented is going to be better 5-10 years down the road
Yeah.
for the property owner as well as the city.
And I personally would rather defer to staff and council anyway, so
No, I want to make
it's not
sure
a-
that the owner is clear on which way they're going. Because otherwise you're going to build the thing and if something comes up, it's a problem.
Good.
I leave it with you.
There was a question on whether that was included in the square footage, I think, Ms. Cooper.
Yeah, I just wondered if that 78, I assumed it did, but I wondered if the final new adjusted agreed upon number of the current structure was including the space on the encroachment, which is part of the current structure.
The structure was included as the base today, and it was included as the future. So it nets out as zero. It's,
Right, correct,
that part is the same in both.
exactly.
in
And I
both
just,
calculations.
my clarification was that, yes, it is, that factor is already included. Just to say, to clarify that, and we understand you're getting it corrected and we are making sure that it is correct, properly documented. I won't say corrected, but you are currently, the property is currently encroaching into the city property. And that's all we're saying is that,
And we'll-
but that is the base property, and all that the encroachment agreement will do is basically document that you are allowed to encroach on that surface there. You're really not doing any structural
No, and
construction in that
and that
area.
encroachment has been there for 25 years.
Right.
So it's basically just a walkway that the servers use to access food or go to the patio. So, yeah.
I guess there is a possibility, though, that some plantings might be needed on that side. Is that correct?
There is, and we are taking that into account with the proposed encroachment area.
Just a little background. The reason the staff wrote this so that it has to be resolved for the building permit
Oh, sure.
is because this was brought up in 2005 to be resolved.
And it still hasn't been resolved.
And that's probably before Mr. Barnum bought the facility. And it wasn't resolved. So we're hoping now it'll be resolved.
Versus not being an issue for the new property owner, because then they'd have to go through all this again.
Right.
Oh, all right.
Probably should have been resolved before the awnings.
Okay, well, that's not, okay. Can we have a motion? Do we want to move forward with the motions, or is there more conversation? Okay,
I'm ready to move forward.
okay. So is there a motion to approve the roof pitch waiver for the wine room? And that's where the roof is essentially flat.
I'll move for the approval of the roof pitch waiver for the wine room area.
I'll second that.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes?
Ms. Damaser,
Yes.
Mr. Jewell,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
and Mr. Cotter.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, the second motion,
They withdrawing.
well, the second motion, because we should either, I think, remove it or vote it down because we're not supporting the plan that's a part of.
Yes, they can withdraw.
If we adopt Plan B, do we
Which is-
now no longer have a need for the other motions?
And if we want to have them withdraw, they could do that as well on the alternates. But if we adopt and approve, I guess not, because you've already included it as part of the decision. But if we adopt B, we are, by logic, not accepting C, D.
Sarah, you wanted to add something?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board did have a discussion about the establishment size waiver, but not a vote.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
That was left over from the preliminary design.
Let me go back, though. So you want to go back and not discuss motion 2 right now? Because we were talking about, okay, so if we go back and vote for the, so then we'll eliminate motion 2. Is that what your suggestion is? To go back and deny the waiver for the increase?
Yes, because that sets up the future discussion about the roof pitch waiver for the kitchen and mechanical. And we also need to have that on the record that
Okay,
a specific vote was taken on that request.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we want to vote on motion 1. So I think that's the way, then that'll establish what the maximum can be, and then the rest of them will fall in place. And then we'll come to motion 4, which will only leave B.
Okay, I'm looking at, you'll have to show me where, because I'm looking at this document.
Oh, you don't have the same.
Oh, you changed the agenda.
That's the problem.
No wonder you're having a.
Yeah,
Okay, so we have, this is the one.
the agenda that was published earlier did not have that one.
Okay,
The agenda at our table.
The one that they handed out.
yes,
Which one?
I'll
Good.
use this.
yes, okay, there you go, yeah.
Okay,
Now I know.
All right.
Why you're confused.
now you know why I was looking at you. Okay. All right, the motion to approve the established size waiver.
Yep,
Can we move to disapprove?
or we can just vote no. Right? So-
Yeah, well, somebody's going to have to move in the positive and then,
Yeah, the motion to approve the established size waiver. So if you support it, we're granting the waiver to go
Right.
beyond the current size if we support it. So we probably need to make a motion to get it on the table and then
Right.
vote.
Right.
So,
I beg your pardon, what was your question?
can we do one in the negative?
No,
I generally recommend not to move in the negative.
that's more.
So
complicated
if
than
you,
double
it would be a
negatives.
motion to approve the establishment size waiver. Those who are in favor of the waiver would vote yes. Those opposed would vote no.
Right.
And of
Okay.
course, moving it does not commit you to a position.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. So I'll make a motion to, I'll make a motion to approve the establishment size waiver.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Or would you call the roll?
Mhm. Ms. Damisar,
No.
Mr. Jewell,
No.
Mr. Alexander,
No.
Ms. Cooper,
No.
Mr. Cotter.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Okay. All right. So this is motion 3. So this is one that is probably not germane because we're not allowing them to increase, but we probably need, if we're not supporting it, so or if we're not supporting it, our vote needs to reflect that. So the motion is to approve the roof pitch waiver for the kitchen mechanical room.
I can second that? Or you want me to make that motion?
I
The
need a
motion
motion.
is to approve the roof pitch waiver for the kitchen and mechanical room.
Okay, and is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay.
Ms. Cooper,
No.
Mr. Cotter,
No.
Mr. Alexander,
No.
Ms. Damisar,
No.
Mr. Jewell.
No.
All right, thank you. And finally, is there a motion to approve the final development plan? And that's the approval, Exhibit B, with the 8 conditions.
Are all 8 still, they're still all good here? Just having a
And
rewrite.
have you, the two of you reviewed those 8 conditions and you're okay with them? Okay.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the final development plan, which was Exhibit B
With
And
the
that-
8 with the 8 conditions.
with the following 8 conditions.
Okay.
I'll second.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Damisar,
Yes.
Mr. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Jewell.
Yes.
Thank you. You're approved. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay. All right. The next item on our agenda is approval of the meeting dates for next year. They were distributed at the last meeting. Did everybody have a chance to
I did
look
not,
at
because
those?
I was not here, so.
They were also in your packet, your OneDrive.
I got it right here. I'm just making some notes actually in my new calendar.
I was fine with those dates. I mean, look, for me, I was concerned about the spring break. I'm not overlapping the kids, the public school vacations, and I checked that, it doesn't, it misses those, so.
I do have one concern with the March 29th date. It's not the fourth Wednesday, that's the fifth Wednesday of the month.
We frequently adjust them
For spring break.
for a different holiday, like this one's not the 4th.
I understand, but I'm just saying I would prefer it would be on the fourth.
Well, one, I won't be here, but more importantly, applicants who have kids, chances are, aren't going to be here. So if you look at the community, and typically we've scheduled that meeting around the spring break in the schools.
I understand.
And that's,
So-
it's the same thing. I will be out that week.
Yeah, I'll
also,
probably be gone too for spring break.
Because the
so.
spring break that I'm with is a different one. So this is Dublin, but not all of them are the same.
And because of that move, I was going to be out, but because it went to the fifth one, I will now be able to be present, so.
So the fifth one, I'll be playing golf in Alabama.
So so let's look at it another way. So where it's scheduled now, so Marty, you'll be out based on where it's scheduled now. And,
Yeah. And I'm out on the 29th, March 29th. I'm also out.
and Sean, you'll be out.
Yep.
So,
Can we move it to the 15th, which is the third Wednesday?
We certainly can if that's what it takes to get a quorum.
But, yeah, and I won't be here on the 15th, so.
okay, well, let's back up. So if we move it to the date that you would prefer, Marty, you'll be here, Sean will be here. Hillary, when are you out?
Spring break for Dublin schools, which I'm trying to find.
Okay, so you're out the same time I'm out. So
Okay.
you and I would be out
Okay,
that.
yeah, it's either the
On the 15th,
last.
No, we would be out on
22nd.
the 29th.
Oh,
Or we would be out.
The 22nd, you're saying.
You'd be out on the
22nd. We'd be
22nd.
out.
24th is
Now,
Dublin spring break.
which ones are you gone for?
I won't be back till the 23rd, so I would be, if I was going to be available if it was on the 29th. So I will not be here that whole month.
Oh, even the 29th, the whole
No,
month.
the 29th, we're coming back. We're back on the 23rd, actually.
So there would be,
Want to do it on the 23rd?
if,
Well,
oh,
by the
wait,
time
you
I
won't be
get in-
here.
Well, I would get in like at midnight that night or whatever.
So you won't be, okay, so
Yes.
so,
So let's just do the math. So if you do it on the 22nd, Marty and I are out.
No, I'm here. I can do the 22nd, I can do the 15th, I can do the 23rd, the 24th, or the 27th or the 28th, but I have a problem on the 29th.
So you want to take each date? So on
I
the
may or may
20
not be out. It's not a guarantee that I'm out. It's just 50% likely. We haven't made plans yet.
so if we moved it up to the 15th, who's here?
I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm not.
I should be here. I'm trying to find my calendar.
So that gives us 4.
That'll give you a full.
So that's the best we can do right now. Does that give you enough time to prepare?
We can make that work because we're planning now for that. So we can hit that date.
Would board members, how do you feel? I mean, that,
Because otherwise you're going to, either other week, you're going to be 3.
the other
Honestly,
the other
that's,
2, there'll be 3.
is there a specific legal problem with putting it back even like to the Monday, the 27th or Tuesday, the 28th that month?
There are probably conflicts with the use of this room, more likely.
Oh,
Yep.
But it's the whole week, both whole weeks. So it doesn't really matter.
yeah, our Tuesday's an issue because we could do it on the 28th.
I think there other committees and,
So I'm not here the 20th.
I know the zoning board meets on Thursdays, so it's not going to be, they're not going to be the conflict.
Well, we'll get four, you're out no matter what. So we get 4 of us if we move it up.
Right, yes.
to the
Yes, I will
15th.
be available.
You moved to 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best.
And I think people are consistently know we meet on Wednesdays, so.
Exactly. I'd be concerned about choosing a different day because then everybody gets a little out of sync.
Okay. All right. Everybody okay with that? 15th?
March 15th,
Okay. Sorry, Sarah. Okay.
the Ides of March.
So I'll miss the February and the March meeting then.
I'll miss the February meeting.
Okay. That was previously approved. That's been published.
Yeah,
I
last
think we can do
calendar.
anything
Because
about
last
that.
year.
Okay.
The rest of them for me were okay.
Any other communications?
Do we need to have a motion for that? And then,
Yeah, to adopt the meeting schedule.
yes, and if we could include the notation of the 15th of March instead of the 29th.
If it's better for you guys to do it on the 29th, then
Well, we don't have a quorum regardless.
I think
Well,
it was
yeah.
that,
This is the only way we can get 4 of us here. Let's go to the 15th.
Right.
the 15th.
yeah.
We may get a tie, I suppose, if we had a meeting with 3, but
That makes you feel any better. I'll be coming home a whole week early.
okay. All right. So is there a motion to approve this calendar with the adjustment of the March meeting moving from the 29th to the 15th? Any other dates, issues?
Rest of them
No.
were fine for me. So I'll make a motion to approve the ARB calendar for 2023, moving the March meeting to March 15th.
I'll second that. We need a second.
Mr. Joel,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes,
Ms. Damasser,
Yes.
and Mr. Cotter.
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, do you want to tell us about that alliance or that other document you had in our packets and then any other communication?
Yeah, that was just something that I thought would be very interesting reading on roof materials. I found it interesting and helpful, and I was stunned at the change to the Congregational Church in Colorado Springs, which is right down the street from where I used to work, and I was stunned. I'll just put it at that. But it shows what a difference roof materials can make to the benefit or not. So I thought that would be interesting reading. Let's see, other communications, since we are at year end, I wanted to thank everybody for their hard work and dedication to this board. We really, really appreciate it. The community appreciates it. Historic Dublin is such an important part of this town, and therefore you are an important part of this town. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the holiday gifts. Let's see, I think Taylor is going to take a picture, a formal picture of everybody for the year-end report. And this is, for those of you who are new, we do, and we're required to do a year-end report by code and let everybody know what we've all been working on over the year. And it's going to be a great report. It should be fun, but we always include a photo of all of the members. So before we adjourn, maybe everybody could step in the front here and we'll just take a quick photo.
I'm assuming we're off the air.
Adjourn.
Oh, maybe we
No,
adjourn
maybe
and
adjourn
then
the
take the
meeting and then
photo.
take it.
Yep, that would work.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Okay. All right, we're adjourned.